Have you ever considered installing solar panels for your site? Do you fully understand the process involved, the return of investment, and indeed the time it takes to get payback? Well, today we're going to find out. In the second episode of our sustainability journey, I had Stephen Armstrong, the head of commercial, and Chris Barmer, the operations director of AR Power based in Washington, a fantastic Northeast company with a brilliant reputation. We're going to lift the bonnet on solar. I ask every question, hopefully every question you want the answer to. We debunk some myths and we really help to understand and educate people on this topic. This might be something that you've been kicking the can down the road or perhaps not really understood the process entirely. So we really go quite deep into exactly, hopefully, what you're trying to get out of this. I can't recommend them enough as a business. We talk about the full process, everything involved, and some key projects and some key technology that they use. So please sit back and listen or watch this one. I will obviously put their contact details in the link as well. Please just click that subscribe and like button. It means the world to me. Obviously, it helps keep growing the show. So thank you very much. Hope you enjoy the episode. Right, a massive warm welcome today to Chris and Stephen from AR Power. So this is our second sustainability episode we've done. Last week we had Phil Atkinson from BTS Fabrication. Today I'm really looking forward to just talking about all things solar and to help businesses out and really ask the questions hopefully you want the answers to. So Chris, Stephen, how are we?
All good, mate. How are you? I'm good, Mark.
Very good, thank you. And looking forward to this. And Chris, obviously, this is your second time on the show, so you brought some with you for some support this time. So
Absolutely.
but if you wouldn't mind kicking this off, just tell us a little bit about AR Power and what they do, please, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are Power based in the Northeast, established in 2011 by husband and wife, Mark and Maria. We predominantly specialize in solar and battery storage. In the early years, started off in domestic. We're now purely on a commercial basis. We have built a team or a company that keeps everything in-house. You'll find a lot within the industry subcontract out. We very much pride ourselves on building the quality and maintaining the quality and the sustainability of everything within our own control, ultimately.
Yeah, great stuff. And Steve, I know you've not been with the business that long, so what attracted you to the into AR Power? What's the first thing?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been involved in commercial solar for just over 5 years now, and worked with AR Power before I joined as a partner. They were pretty much my go-to installation partner in the north. But yeah, one of the main reasons is the levels ahead of anybody else in terms of the quality, the reputation, everything about them, to be honest, was brilliant. So it was the right move for me.
Yeah, great. And you know what, and I'm not just saying this, but a lot of times when I'm in meetings with manufacturing owners, and the conversation, which is fantastic now, sort of tends to lend itself a bit more to their sustainability journey. And when I ask them who they use for solar, more often than not, it is AR Power, which is nice and it's good. And I think anything which you can keep it in the Northeast as well is excellent. So I think this is part of this to learn about the business, but actually the bigger thing is just to learn about solar, because I've seen personally the last 12 months a real shift, I would say, with companies starting to take sustainability really seriously now and not just see it as a tick box, see it as something actually that there's so many more benefits too. I mean, how have you seen the market the last sort of, I guess, 12 to 18 months?
I mean, personally, yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, commercial solar, but we've found right now it's a really good time to invest in such an asset. It's so attractive that the payback periods, the return on investments are probably better than they were back in the feed-in tariff days. So we've had, the prices of solar panels are the lowest they've ever been. As everybody knows, energy prices have inflated over the last few years as well. And then also the efficiency of the panels have gotten better as well. So yeah, it's become such a viable option again. And if you think of all of the renewable technologies out there, solar has to be probably the quickest and easiest to deploy. So it makes perfect sense to start that journey with solar.
Yeah, and that's it actually, because I ran an event that Chris came to the other week, and it does seem to be almost the first thing people do is look at that, because it seems to be the obvious one, the obvious shout. I'd be like to sort of debunk some myths, because I still think around all this type of stuff, there's some people have these certain sort of, I don't know, feelings about certain things sustainability which aren't true. I mean, what would you say are the classic myths that we can debunk on there that people sort of think, shall we say? Anything
Sorry, one of the first things I always hear is, I think we heard it at that event as well, to be fair, is our roof's not suitable.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
In solar, you can put it in your car park. You can have a carport. You know, you can, if you've got land, you can have a ground mount system. There's many options there, so you're not restricted to your roof space.
Yeah.
So that's one of the key things, is I would say, for people, explore your options, or even if you're interested in solar and you're not confident in your roof, just speak to a specialist. I mean, we deal with this day in, day out, so we certainly would be the first people to suggest if your roof wasn't suitable.
Yeah.
But we would then explore the options and come up with other avenues to provide sustainable solutions.
Because I've heard that, and I've heard of people say, "Oh, we can't do it. We don't own the building," for example. Then is that just the case of then have a conversation with the landlord who owns it, or what was that tricky one?
Yeah, that is possible as well. We have done installations where approval has been sought out by the landlord, especially if you're on a long-term lease. It's a lot easier to agree, and there is options there. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay. For anyone listening or watching who is just clueless, haven't heard anything about solar, that side to it. Stephen, what would you say are the main benefits, would you say, the obvious benefits of installing it and doing it today?
So I think, well, let's start by what you just ended with there, doing it today. We're extremely busy at the moment. It's a very good time of the year because we're in peak harvest season. So you'll tend to find, obviously, as the sun's shining, that's when it's going to generate its more throughout the summer. The most obvious reasons to install solar will be a cost-saving exercise. You're going to have less reliance on the grid, so you're going to save on your electricity bill. You're going to reduce your carbon footprint, and yes, you're going to tick a few boxes with your supply chain. There's a lot of companies out there now have to demonstrate, how and when they generate their own electricity on site, and solar is a really, really good way to show that. And then the other thing is it's future-proofing the site as well, which is really important. It's future-proofing the site from any potential volatility within the energy market again, because yes, the market has stabilised a little bit, but who knows what's going to happen over the next few years, especially with conversations around investing in renewables. It's the consumers who are going to have to pay for that over the next few years.
Yeah, 100%. And I see that a lot, and I think, but there's still people, and I understand this market. It's a difficult market, energy crisis, war, Brexit, all these things that have just been so challenging for manufacturers, and everything will come down to, can they afford it? And that's the positive thing, obviously, with solar is there is a return on investment. Do you know what I mean? But I think it'll be interesting to understand for a lot of people listening what the ROI is and how quickly they can get that back. Would you mind just walk me through a typical, your average manufacturing site, if they were to install solar, what would the return on investment be, and how long will that take them?
So I think if you look back previously, you'd be looking at anywhere from kind of 8 to 10 years historically. Right now in the commercial solar world, you're probably looking at, on average, I would say, anywhere from kind of 4 to 5 years. And of course, that's depending on what you're paying for your electricity bill at the moment, how much of that generation you're going to consume on site. So there's a few factors that go behind it, but the average payback period kind of up to 5 years, which is a really good return for a renewable asset. The other thing to probably talk about as well is, if you don't have that funding available to invest in that, there is multiple funding mechanisms available, and a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people think that I'm never going to be able to afford solar. But there's not just a traditional capex option. There is asset finance options, there's seasonal finance options, so you can be a little bit creative, and there's power purchase agreements and lease options as well.
So that is interesting, actually, because I think grants and people don't knock on your door and say, "Do you want a grant?" typically you have to go looking for it. It's an absolute minefield, isn't it? Are there any companies or organisations you'd recommend that you've heard some of your clients have used to try and do so? We say.
So yeah, I think from an asset finance perspective, that seems to be really popular at the moment. There is grant funding available. It's very limited, and it depends, on how many employees you've got, what your turnover is. And it is quite a timely process. We will support customers with grant funding wherever we can. If grant funding is not available, or if we're looking for some extra information as well, we have finance partners available, so we can look at anything from a kind of traditional 5-year to a 10-year asset finance option, and it could be no deposit, it could be sitting on the books, not sitting on the books, it could be VAT deferrals. There's loads of different options with it, and people don't understand that until we actually have conversations with them, how easy it is.
Yeah, and you know what I find quite interesting what you say as well, because I completely agree that actually a lot of companies will initially look what they can do to help their own sustainability, that journey and the ROI on it. Actually, there's a bigger picture at play now that companies now will look at their supply chain when they're pitching for business and go, okay, how sustainable are my supply chain? Because if they've got big targets to meet by a certain time, they're not going to get in bed with a business, unfortunately, who isn't on that journey if they're talking a project. So that is a massive thing, because it doesn't matter how sustainable you are as a business, if your supply chain isn't, then you're never going to make your targets. Carbon neutral. It's never going to happen, is it? It's a massive point.
Exactly. Yeah, completely agree.
What would you say? It's a question for you, Chris, in terms of the process. If someone listens to this and goes, right, this is giving me the kick I need to really sort of start the journey, what's the first sort of process they would go through, and how does that look over the next sort of few months? I imagine it's not a case of buying something that's it's on your building next week.
No, it's not that straightforward. Sorry, it is straightforward, but it is a timely process to make sure you're getting the right solution. So we'd normally request half-hourly data at the start. We'd come out, do an initial survey visit, to understand connections, etc., size of supplies. Then with that, we're looking at the building and the half-hourly data. We kind of design a system that ultimately would be a sustainable solution for the business, because it's no good us filling a roof if it's not required. You know what I mean? We wouldn't do that as a business. We'd offer the best solution that is going to offer the best return on investment. We would submit a proposal, and as Stephen alluded to there, we normally include now in our proposals the various financial options. So at that point, if you see a finance director is looking at it for example, they can look at it and see, right, what's our best avenue to go down for us to make this level of investment. Once a proposal is signed, we'll then submit DNO applications, and we'd look at if planning was required or permitted development, etc. We'd look at that process for that. Could be anywhere between up to 65 days, depending on system size. But during that process time, we'd be coming out doing full technical surveys, looking at how we're going to install site setups for CDM requirements, etc., to making sure we're doing the installations as safe as possible, and to ensure there's no disruption to day-to-day business for the client. And then once the DNO, we'll normally schedule a resource in for when the DNO application is returned and approved, or whatever comes in there. So once that's back, it's a quick turnaround from that point to installation to then reaping the benefits following. But what we do throughout that journey, although it can be quite timely, we keep the customer informed and updated on a regular basis, and we do try and pull that in where possible. We do have a good relationship with, especially the local DNOs and things like that. So where we can, we will always try and pull stuff in, because we understand that as soon as someone makes that level of investment or that initial deposit, they want to be seeing the return straight away, and we want that for our customers.
Yeah, 100%. What sort of stuff do you look for then? Is it the way the building is facing, and that's how much sun it will get? Is it the material of the actual construction? Is it a number of things?
Yeah, there's a variety of things. So we take in the mountain systems will differ, but dependent on the roof type or structure. So flat roofs, for instance, will be typically ballasted systems, calculated for wind uplifts, etc. Trapezoidal will be fixed U rails, etc. So there is different things to consider, and we'll do that throughout our detailed design process. Obviously, directions and stuff like that, we work out we use a software for our design software, which is very good in terms of determining kind of the light levels, etc., and understanding the best kind of positioning for the panels.
Okay, I appreciate it. Stephen, right behind you, which I've just found interesting. Obviously, when everyone thinks solar, they think roof, putting the roof. You know, that's the thing. You've got ground mounted there, and you've got carport solutions. So, are these different products and features then you can do if, for example, you can't get one on your roof? Then how does that work?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, ground mount is ideal if you haven't got the roof space and you've got that land there, because you can fit quite a big system there, and that can be kind of cabled back into the main distribution board. But what's really good about ground mount as well is you can turn the panels to face the south, and you can face them any way you want. But sometimes you're restricted with your roof. Ground mount gives you that kind of that creativity in that respect. Carports are, I suppose, they're not new, but I suppose they're being talked about more and more, and they're becoming ever so popular now. They look fantastic. They will cost you more than a standard roof-mounted system. You do have to build almost the structure to hold the weight of the panels. You're not putting the panels on a structure that's already in place, but they look fantastic. And again, if you do have a big space there available, you can generate a lot of electricity by covering the carports.
Yeah, interesting. And actually, I think the ground mount is really interesting, because I just think a lot of manufacturers have space. They might not have the building for it, but they have the space. Are you seeing, is that a newer product than the roof side then, or have you had that for quite some time?
And I wouldn't say it's newer. They are quite, they're very much known in the industry. I think the almost go-to, when we're talking about debug myths, the almost go-to is everyone looks at it for the roofs, and I think that's come from solar started off very much with a domestic kind of element, but as it goes more down the commercial route, you think, because if you think about domestic purpose, you don't have that land to put like ground mounted systems in and things like that, unless it's of a certain size, a kind of domestic property. But when you're looking at commercial, the manufacturing businesses have loads of unused land that they could really capitalize. I mean, if the system warrants it, I mean, if you use, for example, a manufacturing facility that's 24/7, their consumption is going to be huge. If that's their operations, and sometimes a roof-mounted system might not alone in itself cover it. So then you could look at joining it. Oh, I'll put it on my roof, and I've got land there. So you've got a collective system there to make sure you're getting a better return on investment, and you're covering more of your own consumption. And then you could go down. I mean, there's multiple options then, because if you're all looking at a 24/7 operation and things like that, and you can get a big enough system, you could then look at battery storage, etc. And there's multiple options there, and we would obviously do as a business calculate all that for a customer to make sure any investment they make is a smart investment choice.
Do you still see the technology evolving quite a bit then? Is that, and is there new people coming to the market now trying to do different things, or is it's what's the landscape like for that?
No, I think the technology is definitely evolving. I mean, the new panel, there's an N-type panel which has been recently introduced, and the efficiencies of that panel, albeit the same size as the previous panels, which are still out there in circulation, the huge efficiencies on them. In terms of the percentage, so over time, the percentage drop is very minimal over the time period of the lifespan of a panel. So the technology is massively evolving, and we see that with battery storage systems and things like that are being released. It's consistently evolving and really transforming at the minute, and it's good to see that the prices aren't drastically increasing as well with that, because it means that as you're getting a better, more efficient product, your return on investments are still around about there. You're not having to invest more for a more efficient product, which is good.
Yeah, no, that is interesting actually. How I imagine you've done umpteen projects now in your time, and probably I know the order book is still absolutely round. What would you say has been the sort of key learnings for you, I guess, in terms of from right at the start to now, in terms of how the projects you've managed and anything you now have to navigate through?
I think it's the customer interface ultimately. So the things that the customer benefits from, we do a standard. So the levels of quality, the level of attention to detail, that's an expectation from us as a business that comes as a given. But the constant, the regular communication with customers, ensuring that, big thing is, obviously, from myself, I'm from a manufacturing background. We're going into a business, we don't want to disrupt their day to day.
Yeah.
Our big thing is your operations stay as they are. We come in, we don't want you to know we're there. We'll come here, do the job, and we'll be gone. We aim to be self-sufficient, etc. when we're on site. So that's our key thing, is working closely with our customers and building that relationship and ensuring they have a positive experience of solar ultimately.
Yeah, 100%. And Stephen, I know you're on the sales side, but why should people be bothered about this? I know we've mentioned, we've touched on the supply chain piece, but obviously there's bigger things at play here with the environment. But why should a business owner look to move on something like this? What do you think?
I think just, if you have a roof, explore it at least, because people aren't educated enough to understand it. Once you speak to someone within the team, we'll have that conversation. It's very consultative. It's understanding what the customer's ambition is, and it's matching that up. As Chris said before, we don't fill somebody's roof for the sake of it. We fill somebody's roof to kind of offset as much as the grid electricity as possible. Mm-hmm. So it's optimizing the system size to suit the customer. But yeah, if you've got that roof there, it's sitting there, it's an unused asset, whereby you could deploy solar, save money in your electricity, tick all the boxes from a kind of CSR, ESG perspective. And then, if there was another energy crisis in a few years' time, at least you've protected a level of self-sufficiency from that business. Yeah, from the grid.
And obviously, some of these buildings are massive. Some of the projects, the one behind you, it's absolutely huge. How much support and maintenance would that need? There's a lot of seagulls in there around here, for example. How much cleaning? What goes into that for a client, would you say?
Well, we've just invested quite a bit in our operations and maintenance team, which is also in-house. We're finding a lot of insurance companies do recommend that you have an annual inspection with your system. Yeah. That's the reason we brought the maintenance thing in-house, and it makes sense for us. We're not here to just deploy solar and say goodbye and that be it. We want the system to generate at full capacity for the next 25 years plus. So it's a long-term partnership that we're trying to build, as opposed to just installing solar. We work with bird deterrent systems. We're in the northeast. There is potential issues with birds and things like that, but we have some really effective systems that can be controlled by the facilities guys, and you can control the volumes, the noises when that's going off, and some really intelligent software to go along like that. In terms of the actual maintenance agreement, and at that point we'll come out and we'll check for any faults. We'll be checking the cables. We'd like to think if we did the installation there wouldn't be many faults, and but we'd come out and make sure that we did support the company long term with that system.
Yeah, that's good peace of mind, because I think they are big investments. Do you know what I mean? I guess people to know there's that maintenance piece is huge. Out of interest, because I've got no idea, how long can they last? Realistically, when would you need to replace one if you did it today?
So it's 25 years plus. Really? And you've got manufacturer warranty, which is around about 12 years. Also, the inverters that we use, state-of-the-art technology there, 12 years warranty. But you also get performance warranty with the panels as well, which generally speaking is 25 years. So,
Right.
you know, the panels will degrade, but we'd expect it kind of year 20, year 25, the panels will still be at 80% efficiency.
Amazing. That's brilliant. Yeah, it's and that's it. If you're talking if you're talking 5 to 7 years, for example, on a return on investment, after that period of time, then you're cashing in. So it is just that investment, which actually won't mind me digging into the funding piece. You might not know the answer to this, but I mean, what will be the average cost of a sort of, you know, of a building behind you, for example? What will be the average cost of something like that? And any idea how much funding someone could get for that potentially?
So, which one we're looking at? This one here. So, it's a BHK. So that site's what a circa 1.3 megawatt system.
1.3 megawatt, yeah.
Let's just say I wasn't involved in this one, but let's just say a 1.3 megawatt system. You know, let's just say £1 million that might cost them.
Yeah.
So you know, you could, if you have the capex, brilliant. The return on investment, it pays for itself within kind of 4 to 5 years. Fantastic. The other options, as we said, would be asset finance. So if you looked at, say, a 5 or a 6 year traditional asset finance option on a system of this scale, what we tend to find and what we try to achieve is that the loan payments are less than what they're saving on the electricity.
Okay.
So therefore, it's paying its own way. And yeah, that's really important with asset finance. If we can make that cash positive from year one, it looks like it's almost no-brainer territory.
Yeah, excellent. Apologies for interrupting this podcast for a very quick 30-second pitch of my business. Theo James are a specialist manufacturing and engineering recruitment search firm based in Seaham in the Northeast. If you're looking for any staff or a new opportunity yourself, from a semi-skilled level right the way up to C-suite executive, then please get in touch. We have a specialist consultant in each discipline ready to help. I'm extremely proud of what we've built over the years, and I'd love to extend that service out to you. Thank you. Enjoy the podcast. And we get you to sell the business a little bit here, but you know, I imagine there's a lot of competition around now doing what you guys do. Why would someone choose the Our Power? Apologies for putting you in the spot there, but it's normally me getting put in the spot in the sales role, but it's my turn.
Yeah. I think, well, if I answer first, and Chris might have an answer too. To me, one of the fundamental reasons is, you know, we've been around for the long haul. We're here for the long haul. Everything is in-house, which, as Chris touched on before, is quite rare in the solar world. So we tend to find that, yes, some solar companies might outsource design. They might outsource the installation part of it, which is sometimes not a bad thing, but we're trying to maintain the highest of standards. And we can do that because Chris and the team are on site managing their own employees. So it's a lot easier with it to be able to maintain them high standards. So yeah, the reputation for us, I think, especially in the northeast of England, is it's really high, and we're going to maintain that.
Yeah. And I think if one of the positives that we've always tried to build this, and we continuously trying to deliver on it, is that we want to manage everything. So from the initial from a proposal being signed or sent into contract with a client, we cover all the DNO, we cover all the planning, we do all the permitted development. We have our full in-house design team who cover off all the designs. They do the schematics, they do the electrical designs, they spec and everything to ensure that we're using quality products and products that are long lasting. Again, because one of the big things that we do is, if you've got a system that's capable of lasting 25 years, there's a lot of components that go alongside that installation, cable tray and containment, for example, that needs to withstand that length of time as well. So it's no good putting something on there that's not hot dip galv or anything like that. That's not going to withstand the weather. You know what I mean? So we put that level of detail and consideration into everything we do. And then, as Steve mentioned, the in-house teams we have installing them all take extreme pride in what they do. They're all predominantly from manufacturing engineering backgrounds as well. So very good with the hands, very good methodical in terms of how things go together. And then our electrical teams, I think we've had feedback in terms of they tend to go over and above and over engineering, but we ask them to do that for the quality that comes out of it. It is second to none, and we're very proud of that and what we deliver in terms of the workmanship. And then, as we touched on, the customer experience throughout, we want long-lasting relationships that go into. We're not going to lead you with a system and then it's your problem. If you have an issue following, or anything comes up, or you have any questions, we're still there past that point of sale, or past the point of installation.
And I think the two big points there for me are a reputation, because if you're going to do something mega, and it does cost, anything that costs money, you want to make sure that you go in with someone who's reputable. You buy it cheap, buy it twice, and this is a big thing on your building. It's huge. So I think reputation is massive. Just to go solely on the cheapest, this sort of thing, I imagine could cause so many issues down the line, and coupled with the support side. Because exactly that, and I wasn't really aware of that. You kind of just presume, like anything on your house, for example, you buy, you might get a little bit of warranty, and then if it breaks, you've got a massive bill. So I think you've got that support system there. That's mega. That's really big. How I mean, this is me being completely naive, but the weather. If the weather's crap or the weather's fantastic, does that how much of a difference does that have on the ROI of interest?
I suppose that was probably going back to one of your earlier questions, was one of the myths, isn't it? Which, people make the assumption that because let's use the Northeast. People live in the Northeast. Well, we don't get much sunshine. But it is a myth. The system still generate on a cloudy day. Yes, if it's clear blue skies, the system will generate more, but the system is built on it's UV. It's not sun, it's light. So it is a myth. Yes, systems will perform better naturally if it's clear blue sky, but they will still perform and still generate electricity on a cloudy day.
Interesting. That's debunked a myth for me. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. If you've got, which I'm sure and hope you will do, let's say a manufacturing business owner now thinking, right, I could start this journey. I haven't got the time to do it. I've got the team to do it. What are the first steps? Do you see people who get sort of ESG teams to sort of help project manage this? Is it a lot less time consuming than they think? What are the first things that someone should do if they're thinking, right, I need to start this process?
I think if I look at the journey that I've been on with customers over these last few years, it does tend to start with an engineering manager, a project manager, maybe someone, an environmental or sustainability manager, someone who's really, passionate and taking on this project, and that's their role. The idea is I usually jump on a Teams call or I go down to site meeting for a coffee, understand what their ambition is, explain the process so they understand it. Immediately they feel at ease, and they feel a lot more comfortable about the process. Yes, naturally then, at that point, once we've went through our initial feasibility, they'll want to go out and do their own due diligence, which we're really comfortable with. Do the due diligence on us. Please do so. And yes, do your due diligence with other companies around as well. Then at that point, the client will naturally take that up the chain and see, if there's legs with this, and if it's got momentum, then we go back and we refine the design. We get back down to site. We put some resource into it, and we start to build momentum.
Yeah, nice. And I said that the timescale you talked about a lot less than I thought it would be, to be fair. So yeah. That being said, I imagine there's a lot of people knocking on your door now looking for work, which is great. Are you seeing people? Because look, it's been a really hard year for a lot of companies. Manufacturing's been tough. I've worked manufacturing for a long time. This is definitely one of the tougher years I've seen. But a lot of people now seeing the bottom of the dip sort of on the wheel. Are you starting to see companies now go, right, this is a time to try and look at this again? Because I imagine it's been trickier because of that, because a lot of the stuff's out of your hands on that side.
Yeah, there's a lot of people exploring it now. It's extremely busy. It's a really, really buoyant market. But as we said earlier, it's a really, really good time to look at it. Yeah. It is a good time to explore. So yeah, any advice for anyone who's sitting there humming and hawing or kind of hesitating, just have a conversation, explore it, and you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, 100%. And I think as I said right at the start, what I found really interesting is when I spoke to Phil, when he told me about the importance of your supply chain. I never realized that. In terms of if you've got a target to meet, let's say net zero, you're just not going to get there if your supply chain just isn't on that journey with you at all. So I agree. I think now is the absolute time where we're pitching for work and we're looking at projects. to when you stand in front of a client to say, this is where we're at, or this is the journey we're on, because it's a huge part of it. Actually, we need to be all doing what's good for the environment, but at the same time, to couple that, another benefit is we're running businesses, and we're running businesses that need to make profit, and it's only going one way. So I think 100% that there's no negatives of this whatsoever. In terms of the business, AR Power, I've loved watching you guys grow. I think it's been superb. What are the sort of next sort of 12 to 18 months looking like? Any sort of plans on the agenda?
Exciting, to be honest. I mean, I think for the first call we had, I'd recently joined AR Power, and the growth and investment in that time has been exciting throughout, and continues to be honest. So we recently, though, if we're thinking from an employee perspective, we now have a team of, I think, go back 3 years, we had around 7 employees. We've now got 32 employees. We've just brought our own in-house health, safety and environmental manager on board, who started with us this week. So very excited, and as we continue to grow, we're looking at taking control of more and more aspects. Previously, that's been done with external support, and myself and our project manager Adam supporting me as well. We introduced earlier this year employee share schemes. So we want everyone to have a part in the business and the success of the business, and that we are rolling that out further this year to more and more employees. So we're very excited about that. We're also currently implementing new, so we're really focusing on our people element at the minute, and we're looking at revamping our vision, values and mission statement. Currently, we expect to have that finalized at the end of this week. We invested last year in a software. It was around about, we're talking a lot of investment that we went down. So we intend this year, in terms of our own sustainability efforts, to go completely paperless throughout our operations and go fully digital. That's from a initial order through to installation being complete, all the documentation that's required in that, site folders, site registers, etc. We want to go completely paperless on that.
Yeah, amazing.
So down that with that headcount as well, we're rapidly outgrowing the current premises we're in. So although it's going to be a big jump, it's a jump we do need to look at. So we will be looking at new premises and things like that. And as we touched on, in terms of the products we're installing, we're very excited in terms of some of the upcoming projects. So in 2 weeks, we start on a carport in the Sunderland area. We will be working on installing that with a 400 kilowatt battery storage system alongside that. So we're very excited about that one. We're also looking at a solar farm coming up, which will be our first solar farm. That is in, so we're very excited about that as well. So the scale of what we're doing as a business is only getting bigger, and we're very excited about that. But we're also very humble in where we're at. So as the bigger systems we do, we still very much want to help commercial businesses with their 50 kilowatts, etc. So we're very excited. There's very exciting times. We see further growth, further investments needed. And obviously we're delighted to have a strong team on board. So we now have a very strong senior leadership team to help drive that as well.
Yeah, class. You know what a class time to be in the Northeast as well right now. It's just there's more happening in the Northeast than I can ever remember. Do you know what I mean? If you look at, obviously the all around Washington with the IAMP and all that side to it, you've got Teesside on our doorstep, which is absolutely flying. There's just so much happening in a time where it's been tricky, I would say, for most manufacturers. As a region, we just keep investing, which I think's amazing. And your reputation, it is excellent in this area. I say I hear AR Power a lot. It was only a few months ago, I was up with one of our mutual clients, Sam Reynolds, and I think I was talking about, and he mentioned AR Power, and he said, "Oh, come and have a look." And I went on the roof, and honestly, it's a sight to behold when you see, a full all the panels there. It looks superb. It looks fantastic. It really does. And again, that's another myth debunked, where these things are ugly. They're not. Do you know what I mean? They're really not. They're fantastic. So I just want to thank you because it's been really interesting. I've learned a lot today because it was an area that I talk about with clients, but never really had all the sort of intel behind it. And definitely people would have learned a lot from this. And you know what? Hopefully it's given people a bit of a kick to go, right, this has been on the agenda and we'll kick the can. Now's the time, because like anything which is in demand, these things will become more competitive. They'll become, like anything, more expensive. Who knows what they are. Now's the time to do it, and now's the time to speak to you guys. So thank you. I really appreciate it. It's been superb.
No, I appreciate that, Mark. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me. Yeah,
cheers,
thank
guys.
you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Manufacturing Leads podcast. It absolutely means the world to me. Please let me know if you need any assistance. As a business, we look at providing partnerships with manufacturing and engineering companies to really help their recruitment and retention. On the recruitment piece, anywhere from blue collar, semi-skilled staff, right the way up to C-suite level executive appointments, but also much more than that. We run events, so please let me know if you're interested in any of those. If you are interested indeed becoming a podcast guest, I'd be very, very keen to speak to you as well. More than happy to do so. But as a business, as I say, we look at key partnerships to really help your recruitment, your retention, your marketing, your training. We really believe in the partnership piece and being an extension of your business. So we're very proud to work in this sector. I love manufacturing engineering, and my staff are just as passionate about it as I am. So thank you once again for listening. Please get in touch to talk about anything we can do to help. Look forward to speaking to you very soon. Thank you.